Coming up on Network Africa, troops from the Sahel region begin joint military exercises in northwestern Niger to fight terrorism.
So, picture this. The sands of Tillia, Niger. It's hot, really hot. Amidst this heat, something significant has been cooking. We're talking about military drills, but not just any ordinary marching and saluting. These were the Alliance of Sahel States, or AES, showing their coordinated moves. These exercises, involving 5 African nations, weren't just about target practice or battlefield simulations. They were a statement, signaling a new dynamic in African security and politics. Niger, right in the heart of the Sahel, a region that's seen turmoil, instability, and external interventions. For years, the narrative has been one of struggle, of fighting insurgencies with help from outside. But these drills, they felt different. They were presented as a pivotal event, a marker for something bigger than just a training exercise. This wasn't just about defense, it was about projecting strength and a newfound unity among these participating nations. The drills themselves were comprehensive, designed to test the interoperability and readiness of the forces involved. This display of military capability is aimed squarely at addressing the complex security challenges that plague the Sahel region. It's a bold declaration that these nations are taking the lead in securing their own territories, relying on each other for support and strength. So, who exactly are these guys? The Alliance of Sahel States, AES. The core group, the founding members, are Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. These 3 nations, all neighbors, all facing similar very tough challenges, decided to team up. They officially formed this alliance, bound by a mutual defense pact. Their shared experiences with insurgency and political instability became the glue holding this new bloc together. The origins of the AES are rooted in a desire for a different approach to regional security and sovereignty. For a long time, these Sahelian countries have been at the epicenter of conflicts involving various armed groups, and they've often relied on international partners, particularly France and other Western nations, for military assistance. However, there's been a growing sentiment that these external interventions haven't fully solved the problems, and in some cases might have complicated them. Now, to understand the AES fully, we need to talk about a rather dramatic breakup. In January 2024, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger jointly announced they were leaving ECOWAS. That's the Economic Community of West African States, for those not up on their African regional body acronyms. Think of ECOWAS as a long-standing club, a bit like the European Union, but for West Africa, focused on economic integration and, increasingly, political stability and democracy. So, for 3 members to just up and leave simultaneously, that's like 3 key players quitting the band right before a world tour. It was a big deal, sending ripples across the continent. When you see soldiers from different countries marching together, training together, like they did in Tillia, it's easy to just see a military exercise. But these AES drills were packed with symbolism, far beyond the tactical maneuvers. They represented a powerful visual of Pan-African defense in action. The idea of African nations joining forces to protect themselves isn't new. It's a dream that's been around since the early days of independence. but seeing it happen, with countries pooling resources and manpower for their own security, on their own terms, gives that dream a new sense of tangibility. It's a statement that African unity can be more than just talk. This move towards collective self-defense is a direct response to a long history of external military presence and intervention on the continent. Section 5. Togo's surprise. Cameo. Coastal interest in a Sahelian show. Now, here's where the plot thickens, and it gets really interesting. Among the nations participating in these AES military drills was Togo. Why is that a big deal? Well, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are all landlocked countries, deep in the Sahel. Togo, on the other hand, is a coastal nation. It has a port, access to the sea. Its participation in drills hosted by a Sahelian alliance is like seeing a surfer join a desert survival course. It makes you go, what's their angle? Section 6. Africa's own shield. AES versus NATO. Whenever a new military alliance pops up, people love to make comparisons, and the big one being thrown around for the AES is NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. You know, the one with the United States, Canada, and a bunch of European countries. The headlines are practically writing themselves. Is AES Africa's NATO? Section 7. Shifting sands. Who's nervous about AES? All right, so a new alliance is flexing its muscles. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are saying, we're doing things our way now, and even Togo is peeking in. This kind of shift doesn't happen in a vacuum. It makes people nervous. It changes the game. So, who's likely losing sleep over the rise of the AES? Well, let's start with France. Paris has historically been a major security player in the Sahel, its former colonial backyard. Section 8. Our security. Our way. The dawn of military autonomy. So, what does all this, the drills, the new alliance, the break from ECOWAS, really mean in the grand scheme of things? It looks like we could be witnessing the dawn of a new doctrine in Africa. Military autonomy. The idea that African nations should and can take primary responsibility for their own security, relying on each other rather than on far-flung international partners. It's a powerful concept, one that resonates deeply with historical calls for Pan-Africanism and self-reliance. This isn't just about swapping one set of foreign helpers for another. It's about building something from the ground up, owned and operated by Africans. This push for military autonomy is driven by a few key factors. There's a growing frustration with the perceived failures or limitations of past and present external interventions. Decades of foreign military presence haven't necessarily brought lasting peace to regions like the Sahel. But what's emerging now isn't just about resistance, it's about reinvention, a new doctrine, a new direction. This is Insight Africa, where strategy meets sovereignty, and Africa tells its own story.